Welcome to Life Unlimited. I'm your host, Nora Oliver. Today's segment is School Committee 101, and I'm joined here by Jessie Wetzel. Jessie is a certified teacher of visually impaired and serves on the Woburn School Committee, where she helps lead important conversations about redistricting, school facilities, and student support services. She's also an active community leader, serving on PTOs, the Woburn Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and the Massachusetts Braille Literacy Council. She's passionate about equity in education and making sure that every child has the resources to thrive. So welcome, Jessie.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I hear so many good things about you, and I have to say you are very, very much loved here in Woburn, so I think that's a great thing, right?
I appreciate hearing that, so thank you.
Good. I know many people don't really know or understand what the school committee does, and I figured, having you here would be a great idea to really help them understand. Here's a resource here that we have, at the school, and maybe they can get involved, or maybe they have had questions for years or months or days that they weren't sure where to go to get answers. So I think this is going to be very great for us to have these conversations.
Agreed.
So what is the role of a school committee member?
Sure. So if you take it at its basic form, if you look at Massachusetts Association of School Committees, shortened to MASC, they will tell you that the role of the school committee is to oversee the superintendent. So our superintendent in Woburn is Dr. Crowley, to approve the budget and then to approve policies for education and policies of how the district works. All things the school committee does, all things that are very important to make sure that the district runs properly and people are informed. We have transparency and open communication and dialogue. But on that dialogue piece, I think something that MASC doesn't say is that we also talk to the community and get to know people, get to know the staff, get to know the students, the families, and the community as a whole, because I believe our schools are the heart of our community. Yes. And so I think that's a very important job we do as a school committee member, and probably one of my favorites.
That's awesome. And that's very well explained, actually. Thank you. So how is the school committee structured in Woburn, and how are members selected?
Sure. So we have 7 members on the school committee. We have a chair and a vice chair. So the chair of the school committee is Ellen Crowley, and our vice chair is Pat Chisholm. Mm-hmm. And you are elected every 2 years unless you have the top votes. So the top 2 vote getters of any election will receive a 4-year term. So Ms. Crowley and Ms. Chisholm are currently on a 4-year term, and the rest of us are up for re-election. Mr. Lipset will not be running for his seat, so there'll be 1 vacant seat, and the rest of the incumbents are currently running for election this year, with the vote being on November 4th, and then you won't see us again on the ballot for another 2 years.
Awesome. So it's not the schools that are voting, it's the people that are voting. That's, I think, something that many parents don't fully understand. I mean, I've actually found out many parents don't even know what school committee is, what they do, and I think this is great that you're answering these questions.
Yes, correct. So everyone in Woburn that is registered to vote has the opportunity to vote for their elected representatives. And in Woburn, it's every 2 years for mayor, city council, and school committee. So we are not elected by or voted on by the schools like you have school council, where that is people that are in the school that are appointed by the school to help represent the school and the principal in conversations that are school specific, whereas the school committee represents all of our 10 schools, so our 7 elementary, 2 middle, and 1 high school, and then of course our early childhood program, which is a part of that as well, but inside of our elementary buildings.
Yes, absolutely. I've actually served on the school council, but it was at the a couple of the schools actually, and it was very interesting. You have a few different teachers, parents, the principal, so this is great. What kind of decisions does the school committee make that directly affects the students and families?
Sure. So I think the biggest one that we recently made would have been the redistricting, which I know you were a part of from all the schools, elementary schools that were redistricted, had parent or caregiver representatives. And Nora, you were the good years, so we really much appreciate your service. And you're welcome. You did a great job. All of our representatives, anyone that happens to be watching, did a fantastic job. Everyone went above and beyond.
Yes. It was a lot of meetings and meeting with parents and PTOs, and It was a great involvement, and parents had a lot of questions. So
They're entitled. Yes, and parents are entitled to those. And I think the
Yes.
more questions and the more involvement we had from every stakeholder, the better. And that doesn't necessarily mean parents inside of our schools. That can be just people in our community that want to be
Yes.
involved in our schools that don't have kids. Because the school committee, yes, we represent the schools, but we are a representative of the city of Woburn as well.
Yes.
And the collaboration piece, I think, is very important, which I think we did very well with the redistrict. But
I
to
think we
answer
did,
your
yes.
question,
Yes.
one of the biggest things we did recently to directly impact families would have been the redistrict, where we were trying to provide more equity and lessen capacity issues that we had at multiple of our elementary schools due to how full they were. So that definitely impacted students. Another thing that we do is we approve curriculum. So that also has a direct impact on our students and our staff. And I think something Woburn does very well with curriculum is we do pilots. So we will get stakeholder involvement, our staff members, to help select the curriculum, and then they will be piloted in different schools to see, okay, how does this work? Do we like this? Do we need to tweak something? And then if that curriculum is selected and it goes into place in the district, you already have these people that know about it that can then help everybody else get on board. So it's really, there's a lot of moving parts at any given time and a lot of players involved. I think the better the communication that you have, the better everything works and the better we work together, the same thing.
That's awesome. I like that you don't just throw out something new without actually experiencing and seeing how it works, if it's beneficial. So that's great.
Agreed.
Now, how does the school committee influence things like, you just mentioned curriculum, how about school safety and like special education programs?
Sure. So school safety obviously is a number one priority in any district. We know all the things that happen in our country, and we need to make sure our students are safe. You can't be in a school if you don't feel safe and comfortable. You cannot learn there. You cannot be expected to be there. So school safety is a high priority. We work with various foundations to include the I Love You Guys on our school safety program. We have first aid backpacks in all of our classrooms, and our teachers have the standard response protocol written on their badges. So if anything were to happen, everyone is trained on what to do. Students go through safety trainings at the beginning of the school year as well. Our youngest learners experience it to our oldest kids, which is important because everyone needs to be on board when it comes to
Yes.
safety, and everyone needs to know what to do and how to react and what their role is
Especially
in
in
it.
today's world.
100% agreed. And then in terms of special education, we have the school committee has subcommittees, and one of those is student services and achievements. And under student services and achievements, you'll find special education is one of the big things that we talk about in that subcommittee. And we get updates from Dr. Ryan, one of our assistant superintendents, who is very close to special education, the different programs that we have in our district, our students on IEPs and 504s, and the funding that we get as well, which is extremely important when we're looking at special education, because those programs can't run without the appropriate funds to go to them. So we oversee the budget in that regard for the funds, and we don't oversee the department because that's not necessarily a school committee role. That would be an administration role. But we do enjoy hearing from our students in those programs and on the what they're doing. And one of the things we did do in the redistrict, specifically for kids that are in programs, by that I mean like our RISE program or a number of programs that Woburn has for our special education students that fall into various disability areas, was to make sure that those programs stayed at the school. Stability is really important
Right.
to those learners, and to move them constantly is disruptive to them,
Right,
to the
more
families. And
stability,
yes.
yes.
So that was something very important to me as well as the committee when we were looking at the redistrict of how can we keep the kids in our programs in the schools that they're in.
Less disturbance, yes, keep them safe and connected to their peers.
Exactly. And in a
Sounds
building that knows them.
Right, exactly, right, yeah, the staff. Can you give an example of a recent decision the committee made and how it impacted Woburn schools?
Sure. So I used the redistrict already.
Yes.
So I don't want to go back to that one.
I mean, you can use that if you want, but it's your choice.
Yeah, so the redistrict was the talk of the town last year. So I think we've done that, and we're in a phased approach. So we
Yes.
will not talk about that. I think one of the things the committee does is we set resolutions of affirmation. One of the things I did my first year on school committee was set an LGBTQ plus resolution of affirmation. How can we make sure the population of students and staff members feel heard, listened to, and safe in school, and what kind of things can we do from the committee standpoint to help make sure that happens. And we worked with the Spectrum Club advisor, Gretchen Polat Ramos, at the high school, and she also spoke to those students to say, okay, what do we need here, and how can we implement things, policies, or any changes to make sure that the community is behind us. So that was something I was especially proud of because inclusion is important.
Absolutely.
Kids should feel
yes, yeah.
comfortable, and kids should want to be able to be at school. Kids should want to participate in activities, and it does not matter who you are. You should feel comfortable doing that, and
Yes,
that's
yeah.
our job as adults. That's our job as school committee members to make sure these kids feel comfortable and confident, and our staff as well, because they fall into that category too.
Yes, I know, and it bothers me tremendously, the fact that a lot of kids have to feel like they have to fit in because of, whatever they may be different on, and it's just, it's very sad because we're all people and we all have differences, and we shouldn't have to do anything special or different to fit in,
No.
to be liked, or, be part of something. So I'm glad that something's being done about that.
Agreed. Mr. Rogers said, "You are perfect just the way you are."
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I believe that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that we're all different, and I think that's what makes us all special.
Agreed.
Yes. Okay, so one topic many parents are confused or frustrated about is the school budget.
Sure.
I know you mentioned a little bit, but how does the committee manage that, and how much control do you really, really have?
Sure, good question. So I'll go back, start with our subcommittee. So we have a finance and personnel subcommittee, and they meet quite often. A lot of our subcommittees meet monthly. I would say finance probably meets about bi-weekly, and more often as we approach, if you call it budget
And I can
season.
see that. I can see why.
Yeah, because the bills have
just-
to be paid.
Right.
It's summer, they're still
There's
meeting.
so much always going on. Yes.
Agreed. So they're constantly looking at the budget. Our administration constantly looking at the budget. Okay, where do we stand on all of these different budget lines? Our budget packet is quite thick. It's all public record. You can always look at the budget. If anyone has questions, obviously any of us are happy to answer those as well. And the role that the school committee plays in that is we do approve the budget but it is before any of that happens, a lot of things take place. So our director of finance, Mr. Dizio, will start working with the finance subcommittee, with Dr. Crowley, and they'll start preparing the budget, and they'll project out what we might need for the following school year. So that stuff for next
Before
year.
the approval, so you kind of see what's needed, what's required, where you can fit in if there's any extra, which
Correct.
I would be surprised if there ever is.
No. Typically, there's not. And it's the budget packet. If you haven't looked at it before, it's yes, it is a lot of lines with a lot of numbers, but there's also parts of it that are broken out. You can see graphs where you can see percentages of this is how much we spend on transportation. This is what we spend on salaries. This is what we spend on electricity. So there are ways to look at it that aren't looking at every single line item, which I know can be very daunting and
Right.
confusing and not necessarily fun for a lot of people. So I do
Right.
understand that. So we do try to make it accessible in that regard. And of course, it is posted. You can find it down at City Hall if you want to see an actual copy. We are also, as a committee, happy to print copies if people prefer that than looking at digital. And then to go back to the process. So we typically will start looking at the budget in the early spring time. So for the following
following
school
year.
year, correct. And we'll get a presentation of the packet, and it'll include every budget line and total number of what we're asking and what that percent increase is from year over year. And then we'll have conversations publicly at school committee meetings, and we'll have conversations publicly at subcommittee meetings, which those meetings can be attended by anyone in the public. At school committee meetings, we always offer public comment. And then at subcommittee, there's no public participation, but you can go to a finance subcommittee meeting, and if to learn more about how that budget process works before you see it at the full school committee. And in the spring, it'll be on the agenda multiple times when we're talking about it. Hey, do we need to add this, or can we eliminate that, or what does the school need here? Like for instance, this year, the school year, we added an additional assistant principal at the high school.
Right.
So that way there's a principal for each grade level, whereas before we didn't have that. So that we thought that was
I
something
think
that was
a smart move.
and
Yes.
we heard it from staff, we heard it from the principal. This wasn't something the committee said, this is what we need. This is something we heard from those involved. and we added that to the budget. We were fortunate enough to be able to keep it on the budget, and there's someone hired, and they will be starting in the fall.
Such a large, big school, so it's definitely needed.
It is. And so ways that people can be involved in the budget process, not only by just attending meetings, but if there's something you feel very strongly about as a member, as a citizen of Woburn, send us an email, come to the committee meeting, speak publicly about it. Give me a call, get involved, because we want to hear from you. We can't do our job if we don't hear from the people, because we're elected by the people. We represent the people, and we represent the people's interests.
Anybody has an opinion or recommendation, or but I think we do get complaints or worries, and I just want people to know that before you start to worry too much about the budget, really look at the numbers. And many people are not aware of everything that goes on in a school budget. So I think it's important, like you said, reach out, have a full conversation before you jump to the conclusion, with opinions and sometimes even threats. It's unfortunate. That's going to happen once in a while. But I think it's important, like you said, please go to the meetings if you really need to. I think they're all being held at Joyce. I don't think there's any plan to be changed.
No, so that. Joyce, 7 o'clock, and they're all broadcasted on Woburn Public Media. So if you can't make the meeting, you can certainly watch the meeting. And we have our agendas out less than 48 hours before the meeting. And then in our agenda, there's links to all the documents that will be shared at the meeting. So if you can't be there in person to receive a printed copy and you're following us virtually, you can have the links, you can see in real time what we're talking about and look at it. And if there's any questions or any confusion, myself or anyone on the committee is happy to answer those questions.
Yes, the least you can do, I feel like, listen to the live, right? They're all recorded, or go to the past. Many of us have kids. Things happen, you can't make it. So, at least listen to it live, and then send out emails with any questions. I think that's very, very important for people to know. Now, how do you decide what programs get funded and which don't? I know you mentioned a little bit, but is there something else that goes on that the public isn't aware?
So program, do you mean like special education programs, or do you mean
any
like
program in general before it goes through the budget for any approvals? Is there something else that, I know you said you have a pilot normally.
Like for curriculum?
Right.
Yes. So there's a curriculum subcommittee as well. And during that subcommittee, yes, we receive presentations about whatever new curriculum there is. Assistant Superintendent Young kind of oversees the curriculum department, and any committee member can reach out to her and go see the curriculum that we're using. She has the books on everything. So there is a process. Before that gets onto the budget, there's a process of us looking at it. There's a process of it being piloted. Then it's on the budget for it to be paid for, so we can actually use this curriculum inside of our schools. So that's one program, I guess, that we would have to approve before it goes on the budget. A lot of the other programs are anything special education is state mandated, as we should be doing it anyway, because it's the right thing to do for the students. And that would receive funding from various sources. That would be a very long conversation that I'm happy to have, but it would take up a lot of our time here. But we do receive state funding, there's federal funding for those programs. And so there's nothing, we are mandated to approve those, so we can't not have them in again.
Right, that's kind of set.
That's set, and there's nothing.
Requirement.
Yes, and I'm very thankful that it is.
Awesome. So I know you mentioned this a little bit, but what's the best way for parents to, of concerned citizens that they can reach out and make sure their voices are being heard? Is it email? Is it in person? Both? Or is it something else?
I think it's all of the above. I think email's great. Then you have a paper trail.
Check frequently, so it's not like it would be weeks, nobody will hear back.
No. So our current chair, Ellen Crowley, is very fast at replying to emails. Oftentimes a lot of communication goes through her. However, if you wanted to email the entire committee, or there was just a specific member you wanted to email, you're welcome to do that as well. That being said, we do share everything publicly as a committee, because we need to for that transparency piece. Also, if someone has a concern, the committee needs to know about it as a whole. I can speak for myself, and I'm happy to meet one-on-one. I'm happy to have a phone conversation. I'm happy to text. Really, I will meet you where you are if there's a better way.
I know you do, and I've heard so many great things about you from many parents, and that's why I've tried to come up with questions here that I know people have questions,
Yes.
and just to kind of help out. Like, here's what's really going on. Here's what you can learn more of.
And
how you
appreciate
can
that.
reach out to find out even more, because I'm sure there's a lot more questions that could have come up, but we could sit here all day and all week and
We
talk
could.
about it. But I want to keep it to the general questions. So how can more people, especially busy parents, get involved or stay up to date to school, like committee happenings, anything that's going on?
Sure. So if you're looking straight at your school, all of our schools have Remind. And Remind will send out weekly emails to parents, and it's an update from the principal on everything going on. Oftentimes those have the links to school lunches, the links to other community programs that are happening inside of the city, as well as important dates like half days or field day, things like that. So that's a great way. Your PTOs at all of our schools are fantastic.
Yes,
They do
yep.
so much good work.
Highly
and
recommend you get connected.
I love our PTOs, they're great. And they do a lot of great work, and a lot of the fun programming that's put on, like the cider socials and things like that, is run directly by the PTO. And shout out to all the parents who help fundraise for the PTO, because that is no small task. But I recommend doing that. And then for school committee coming to meetings, coming up and having public comment, we offer that every single meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, there's a 3-minute time limit. Other than that, we'd love to hear you speak and tell us worries, concerns, or things that you've seen that are fantastic, any of the above. I think it's just important. Reaching out to your school committee members, or reaching out to, even if you start more locally, your classroom teachers, your principals. I think the more people you know and the more connections you have, the better. Life is all about the connections that we have, and that's what really
Yes,
moves
yep.
us forward.
Use your voice. Make sure you're heard. Make sure you're speaking up. Ask the questions. Even if you think they're dumb questions,
They're not.
they're not dumb. You just need more clarity. That way you feel better, and that way you don't make, false, ideas, thoughts in your mind. This way you get clarity and you move on, right?
Exactly.
Or you might, once you figure it out and have the answers to the questions, then you might want to get involved even more.
Yeah.
Or you might have opinions, or you might have great ideas that could help our school. So get involved.
Yes, we love
Yep.
great ideas.
Yes. What are some of the biggest challenges you have faced as a school committee member?
Okay, so I have to go back to redistricting for this one, just because it
It's
genuinely
been a big
was.
part, yes.
Yes, so it was a 2-year process, and the first year, the conversations really started. They had started years back, but once I got on the committee in March is when we were sort of thrown in. So I'd been in for just a few months, and it was quite a whirlwind of a 6-month season my first year. I learned a lot of things,
Yes.
positive, negative, and in between. And I've learned a great deal about our city, honestly, just being on
And it's
school
not
committee.
something that you redistrict every year, every 2 years. It had been, 30 years
30
for
years.
Woburn. It's a very long time. So many people haven't really had to experience it.
Correct. No, and most people hadn't. And so it was definitely a very large change for the city.
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to continuously look at, because as one of the redistrict consultants said it, most cities do this every roughly 10-ish, because it's a changeover then of students and families. 'Cause
Makes a ton of sense.
It does.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then you're starting fresh. So we hadn't done it for so long. It was quite the process. I'm very thankful with the team that we put together this past school year, and I'm very grateful for the work that was done. I'm proud of the work that was done. But it was definitely challenging work, and emotionally as well, because
Absolutely.
moving kids and families brings up a lot of emotion, as it should, because
Right.
it's hard.
Right.
And
But the whole idea was long-term solutions, and there's very few kids that were the only ones in the entire school switching.
Correct.
Right. So they moved with friends.
correct, they did.
And probably moved, it might be even more beneficial because now they're with their neighbors, which, some schools they weren't, right? We had
Correct.
classes that in the same street, they were in 2 different schools, or, different situations.
100%.
that We had
Very-
to face, which
we
was
did.
not so easy.
But we
yeah.
did it. We worked
did it.
together, and I think the community was involved, and also our supporters in it, and despite how difficult it was. And
Yes.
I think we are moving in the right direction. And I'm
Absolutely.
glad we did it. So
Yes, yep. Hardest job is done, I think. And then, there's, I have to say, there's always little hiccups here and there. It's just the way life is. Whether it's in school, your job, your family, it's natural part of living.
Yeah, we're people.
Okay, so what have you learned from serving in this role that you wish more parents understood?
Oh gosh, a lot. I learned a lot. So I knew what the school committee was when I ran, and I knew I had talked to actually every member prior to even deciding to run, because I wanted to make sure this was the right step for me before doing something so large that represents our city. I've learned a lot about how city works and a lot of the steps that need to happen to get from A to B to C to D. Like there's so many things that need to happen, and if all those things don't happen in the right order, things don't work the way they should. And sometimes those steps take a lot more time than what you think they should. Like you wake up in the morning, you make your coffee, you have your breakfast, you go out the door. You wake up in the morning and you are helping to run a city, you do not have your coffee and walk out the door. Like you have to run back and get your breakfast. Then you forgot your keys. Oh wait, you need different shoes because it's raining. So it's definitely
There's a lot that goes in.
A lot, and it's good because there needs to be a lot that happens. You shouldn't make these large decisions without having stakeholder involvement and without having a thoughtful process about it, and that's when mistakes are made. So I've definitely learned that, and I've learned to. I've just met so many wonderful people. Like that's one of probably my favorite things is the people that I've met and the connections that I've made have been phenomenal. And regardless of what happens on November 4th, I hope I continue to make those same connections, and I'll certainly be always a champion for our city and for our schools. But it's really it's about the people in Woburn, and I say this to a lot of people, and I truly mean it. I came from a town of 2,000 people in Lawrence, Michigan, middle of nowhere, borderline Canada, and small town, wasn't a city. And when we moved to Woburn, I didn't think I'd ever find that mentality of where people care and they come together for a common good, and Woburn has that.
Yeah, they do.
And I love that about our city. And I knew that prior to running, but it's really been like...
The more you talk to the people, the more you get involved, the more you see it and feel it.
Yes.
And I love that.
It's a pride.
It's a big city, but very connected.
Yes, it
And that's
truly
what we
is.
need. Yeah. Okay, so what's one thing you're proud of to have helped accomplish during your time on the committee?
Sure. So I said the redistrict, the resolution. I'm proud too of just the way the committee really comes together on important issues and works collaboratively. Even when we have differences of opinion, we can still figure out a way to get to the common goal. And I think differences of opinion are fantastic. We need to have them. That is how government works. If we all were robots and thought the same, life would not be the same. So I think we, all of us have big personalities, which I love about us, but we all can come together for the kids, for the families, the students, and the city. And that, to me, is really what makes us a great team. So does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
I'm sitting here talking.
No, I like that because, like I was going to say, and I know your daughter, one of your daughters, right?
Yep.
I love the idea she had about, Goodyear.
Yes. Oh, yes. Young Addie.
Yes. And then the school took over that, and they were proud that, she shared an idea, and it became something that many, many students loved. And, now they're going to continue doing something annually, which I think is great. I've seen that in other schools, and, I never realized that my kids' schools didn't have that program. So, again, we're all different, which I like.
Yes.
And share your opinions, share your ideas,
Because you don't
That's
know where
really
it's
how
gonna
we're going to
take you.
move forward and make a difference and get better, right?
Agreed. And your daughter
we
was
worked
in the
together.
talent show too.
My daughter was. I had no idea they were going to be walking
On
in
stage
together.
Yeah, it was very cute. Yes.
That was a surprise and very, very cute.
Yeah.
So
it was, and
Yeah.
it just goes to show, even our youngest voices can make a difference in our community. And
Yes.
just by speaking up and having an idea, turned one idea and one, like she had a meeting with the principal, she did all these steps, and then we had the
Yes.
talent show at the end of the year. That's
It
going to
doesn't
be a
matter
thing.
how small you are. Again, it doesn't matter how different you are. It doesn't matter if you think you have a dumb idea or question. Just go for it. You'll feel better about it.
You will. You will.
Yes. Okay, so if you could change one thing about how school committee works, what would it be or how?
Okay, so I'll do a silly one first. So our
Okay.
meetings are at 7 o'clock, and my bedtime is like 10. So sometimes our meetings go very, very late. So my silly one is, which I know we can't do and we shouldn't. I wish we could meet at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon over a cup of coffee. That does not work for anyone in the community, and I totally
Right,
understand that. What would I change about school committee? That is a really good question because I can't answer it funny because I just did, which I don't even know if it was funny.
No, I think that's
But-
great. You know what? I like that because my bedtime most of the days is at 8, so I don't know how you make it to 10.
So yours is even earlier than mine. Okay.
I wake up at 5 every day, so in order for me to, it's just the way I function, right? My alarm clock internally, it's like 5 o'clock, and then by 8 o'clock, I prefer to go to bed at 8, sometimes 9, but like you said, it really is different for everybody, so it's good that you spoke up.
Something else I thought of too. So we have every 2 years we have to run for election, right? And that is by our city charter. Same with the mayor. Same with the city council. 2 years is a very short amount of time
It
to
is,
get
right?
work
I
done.
thought so, yes. Yeah.
I think it would be great if we could do 4 because then after the first year, especially if you're new, you're still learning it. I still have a lot to learn. I
Right.
expect
By the time you really figure everything out and you get this big idea and you're ready to launch it, it's time for you to go.
You're running again, and running it's great. I just finished a bike tour of the city. We're door knocking, we've got signs, and those things are all wonderful. But I would also like to be spending my time doing work on the school committee, which I do, of course, even if it's summer. But I also have to allot time for campaigning. And it takes a lot of time, energy, and finances to do that. So to have 4 years, I feel like you could get so much more accomplished and done versus having to think about running a year after you just were elected, basically, is what it boils
Maybe that's
down to.
something you can, bring
I
up.
could talk to Clerk Higgins
Yeah.
and see if there's any way to change the charter or how
What's
that
the
works.
worst thing you can get?
It's, as we said,
Sorry,
there's no silly
we
question.
can't change that. Oh, well, you tried.
You tried.
Right.
You tried. But I do,
Or what's the best thing that can happen?
maybe it happens. And
Yeah. So, but and I say that only because I don't want people to sit at home and have a question or have an idea and not come up front, right? So just, it's like everything else in life. If you don't push through, if you don't try it, how do you know
You don't.
what's going to happen, right? So, okay, any final thoughts or message you'd like to share with parents listening today?
Sure. Just first, thank you for your support, Woburn. It means a lot to me to be put in this office. I consider it a great honor. I take it very seriously. I deeply care. I have a lot of passion and energy. I hope that showed today. And I hope for your support on November 4th. And I'm always available, as mentioned, text, email, phone. You can find my information on the Woburn Public Schools website. There's a tab for us for school committee. So you can find my information there. I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page as well. I'm happy to connect on social media platforms if that's more comfortable. But really, I just want to make sure that people understand I'm very accessible. I try to be as transparent as possible. If there's questions that you have, I am happy to answer them. And I'm just here for you as just another point because I know how hard it is to be a parent or not a parent. Maybe you're supportive of your niece or nephew, or you're just a citizen in Woburn, and life is busy for all of us all the time. But I'm here and I want to listen and I want to help, whether that be with the school committee as my job or something else that I can help you with inside of Woburn.
Or as a parent as well. Like that's,
100%.
That's always an option. So
Family first.
yes, absolutely, and that's what we're all here for.
Yes, exactly.
Honestly. So thank you so much for taking your time to
My
come
pleasure.
here and answer all these questions for everyone here in Woburn. And thank you for doing such a great, incredible job at school committee and other schools and the parents and kids. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.